You have already lived this moment. The screen you're looking at, the room you're sitting in, and the video you're watching are all part of a cycle that has played out countless times before. Our senses tell us otherwise. We are raised to believe that time is a straight line, a sequence of unique events that happen once and then vanish, experienced by individuals who are entirely distinct from one another. Jorge Luis Borges spent his life in the National Library of Argentina, cataloging the world's knowledge. As he eventually went blind, he realized that the millions of books surrounding him were actually telling the same few stories over and over. To Borges, the linear world was a surface-level error. This realization led to a radical proposition. If every story is just a recombination of the same few metaphors, then human identity is no different. He concluded that we are all merely different masks for the same repeating human archetypes. To understand one man is to understand them all. Borges illustrates this collapse of the individual in The Shape of the Sword. A man recounts a history of the Irish Civil War, focusing on a comrade named John Vincent Moon, a man he describes as a flaccid, invertebrate coward who eventually betrayed his protectors for money. The narrator tells the story with cold, blistering contempt for this traitor, but in the final moments, he points to the crescent scar on his own face. He admits that he isn't the hero of the story. He is the man who sold his friend out. He is Vincent Moon. He explores a similar mirror in the story of the warrior and the captive. He compares a 6th century barbarian who defects from his tribe to defend the city of Ravenna with a 19th century Englishwoman who was kidnapped by Indians and chose to remain in the desert as savage. These two people are separated by an ocean and 1,300 years, yet Borges argues they are the same person. Both were driven by a secret, profound impulse to abandon their own kind for a reality they didn't fully understand. In this view, our specific names and dates are irrelevant. Heroes, traitors, and captives are just eternal roles being played out by different actors in a repeating loop. This cyclical nature extends to history itself. In Theme of the Traitor and the Hero, Borges describes a biographer who discovers that major historical events often seem to be plagiarized from the past. The biographer notices that the 1824 assassination of an Irish rebel leader perfectly mirrors the death of Julius Caesar. Both ignored warning notes and identical omens. But there's a more unsettling layer. Lacking their own script, the conspirators choreographed the traitor's execution using scenes from Shakespeare's plays. This creates a world where the boundary between fact and fiction dissolves. History isn't just repeating itself, it is actively imitating literature. William Shakespeare is the ultimate example of this void of identity. In his essay, Everything and Nothing, Borges describes the playwright as a man who was no one. Because Shakespeare had no fixed personality of his own, he was able to simulate being an infinite number of people. His soul was Caesar and Juliet and Macbeth. He was a controlled hallucination of many men at once. Borges imagines Shakespeare at the end of his life, asking God to finally let him be just one person. But the Lord answers that he too is no one. God dreamt the world just as Shakespeare dreamt his plays. We are left with the conclusion that the creator and the artist are both empty vessels, filled by the same handful of archetypes that have existed since the beginning of time. Borges extends this logic of interconnectedness to the physical matter. Because every cause is linked to every effect, the smallest fragment of the world must act as a mirror to the entire system. This is the premise of the Zahir. It begins with an ordinary 20-centavo coin, scratched as if with a razor blade. It is a mundane object you might find in any pocket, but the Zahir possesses a magical, terrifying property. Once you look at it, you can never forget it. The coin begins to consume the observer's mind because it is inextricably tied to every other event in history. The Zahir acts as a repository for all possible futures. To see the coin is to see the currency of lost empires. Fully perceiving it means witnessing the crushing vastness of the universe, a reality the human mind cannot process. Borges leaves us with a reality where the infinite is a tangible, local threat. The entire cosmos sits concentrated within the mundane items on our desks, waiting to be noticed. This suggests that every word we speak and every book we write is just another recombination of those same eternal metaphors Borges spent his life cataloging. This very video is part of that same dialogue, a repeating interaction between you and the infinite loop of history. You have already lived this moment. The screen you're looking at, the room you're sitting in, and this video have played out countless times before. We have reached the end of the circuit. The video itself is now your Zahir, an eternal loop with no true beginning and no end.